We are increasingly interconnected and interdependent as a world. What happens in Syria informs what happens in our social and political landscapes across the globe. Hashtag Save Our Girls in Nigeria, hashtag Black Lives Matter in Paris. So it makes sense that we, at least here in the US, talk a lot about the value of diversity and inclusion. We see it, it's palpable, we're living it. But the values of diversity and inclusivity are also predicated upon one of America's central defining myths, that of the melting pot. But in truth, we're not always that good at melting, are we? And is that because most of us don't want to live in an equitable, diverse, and truly inclusive environment? Call me a Pollyanna, but I don't think so. I think most of us aren't very good at embodying the habits of mind and action that would ensure that we actually create diverse, equitable, and inclusive environments where we live, work, and in our communities, because we don't know how to do that. And the truth is, no one among us is born a diversity prodigy or an inclusion wunderkind. Not you, not me. We are born squawking and hungry. Most everything else we learn. And most of us haven't committed to learning how to create and sustain diverse, equitable, and inclusive environments. It's as simple as that. And when I was an undergraduate and later a graduate student, I didn't know how to do this work either. But I've since learned, in part because I fundamentally believe that our differences in the aggregate are our collective source of intelligence and wisdom. And because also I've experienced my share of exclusionary practices. And at some point, I did a little self-reflecting and I thought, basta, enough, Crystal. You can either be a passive participant in an inequitable and unjust world and fuss about it from your sofa, or you can activate and try to figure out how to make your patch a little better. And what I've learned since then is this: to effectively engage the diversity of your fellow humans takes practice. And it is a practice, and it is hard work. It requires the willingness to be wrong, to listen deeply and with as little defensiveness as is possible. It requires the ability to apologize and, importantly, change or shift your behavior. It requires the habit of broadening one's thinking through education, formal and informal. However, the most essential skill to develop, in my view, is what some call having a growth mindset. Developing the belief that if you don't know how to get it done now, you can learn how to get it done. Fostering a growth mindset has allowed me to grow adept at asking 3 questions in service of making a more diverse, equitable, and just space. They are, what don't I know? What more can I learn? And then, how can I employ that knowledge on behalf of fostering a more diverse, inclusive, and equitable world? Graduates, the decision is yours. You can begin at any time to build your intentional practices regarding diversity of experience among us. The occupational therapists, physical therapists, speech pathologists, learning specialists, nutritionists, future physicians, and researchers who develop a set of regular and expansive skills and practices regarding diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice, I believe, will be the people who will eschew outdated 20th century practices They will be the people in the future who develop innovative interventions, who design forward-thinking, socially and culturally appropriate programs and treatment models, who in clinical practice will understand and begin to identify additional ways that our identities, this grand project of diversity, can inform treatment methodologies and outcomes. Those are the people who will be at the forefront, prepared for the 21st century, leading our way into the 22nd. Be one of them. The second thing, openness. So years ago, I was at a friend's wedding, and I met this beautiful little girl named Maya, who I think was about 1.5 or so. I don't really know children that well. She wasn't speaking yet, so I don't know if that's 1 or 2, but she was little. And so when she met me, she threw open her arms as if to say, "Hello, I love you," which I took personally until I realized that Maya did this to everybody and everything. She threw open her arms to the lake, to the birds. There was a little rat-tailed squirrel that was running around. She threw her arms open to that. And it was her fundamental life's position, openness. Most of us, I think, exist somewhere in the middle of what I call the Maya spectrum. Yes, yes on one side, no on the other. And because there are few Mayas among us, sort of these pure yes people, becoming a yes person requires of the rest of us intentionality and practice, particularly if you are introverted and are a person for whom being around others is draining, and also for those of us who are in fields that call us to care for the health and welfare of others all day, every day. Yesing anything but the sofa at the end of the night can seem like being asked to climb Mount Everest. Believe me, I get it. And you needn't yes everything, but yes more than you do now. Develop the practice and the habit. Try new social experiences and invitations. Undertake new adventures. Raise your hand for work projects that may not be in your wheelhouse, but that seem interesting and to which you can apply your growth mindset. Getting a little closer to Maya on the spectrum means that when you are my age, you'll likely have fewer regrets trailing behind you like blue moons, and you'll know more about your world, yourself, than if you